Overwhelm in law school. If you are feeling this, especially within your first month, you are not alone. Let's get into this video where I'm going to talk all about how to combat that today. Before we get into it, let me just call out the elephant in the room. I have paint all over myself. These blue things, just paint. I painted yesterday. I use myself as a canvas. Anyways, first things first, if you are in law school and you are feeling overwhelmed, just breathe. Take a breath. You are here. You made it here. That means that you did something right, at least one thing right, to get yourself into law school in the first place. So just take a breath and recognize, hey, I made it here. It's gonna be okay. And breathe. Make sure that you have good posture, that you're breathing, that you are resting. Make sure your essentials are covered. You're eating properly nutritious foods. You are sleeping. You are drinking water. You are going outside. You are seeing the sunlight. Just make sure the essentials are covered. Next thing I want you to do is make a list. Write down every single thing that you need to do for every single class, tasks that are both graded and ungraded, and just write them all out. So any exams, any tests, any papers, any cold calling days that you have in particular that you know about, all of it. Now, look at the list that you just compiled and split it into two. One section is going to be all of the tasks that you indicated that are graded. And the second section are going to be all of the tasks that you wrote down that are not graded. They do not contribute to your marks at all. Typically, in the ungraded section of the tasks that you need to complete or keep in mind will include things like cold calling, right? So a lot of the times in law school, you are getting cold called and some professors will tell you what day that you can expect to get cold called on in particular, or maybe they won't and you just have to be prepared any day to get cold called. These are typically ungraded questions that they're asking you. Obviously, every law school is different, but most of the time cold calls are ungraded. So if that's in the ungraded section and in the graded section is something like a paper or a test, your energy should be going to the graded sections and not to the ungraded sections. It's really important to prioritize what you are being graded on when you are feeling overwhelmed. That is actually what's going to impact you long term. If you are spending your time working towards becoming better for tasks that are ungraded, like cold calling, for example, we'll use that as the example. Recognize that what you are doing by spending time for these cold calls is spending your time preparing to protect your ego. Because with cold calls, you're not getting anything out of it. If your entire course is graded 100% or 90% on like a written assignment at the end of the term or an exam, and you are preparing so much for 2 weeks from now when you're getting cold called, all you're doing is just protecting your ego because that specific reading probably contributes to like such a small percentage of what's going to be on the final exam, or nothing at all to what's going to be in your final paper. So it's really not worth your time to be preparing for this call just so that you look and appear like you know what you're talking about, or so that you do know what you're talking about at the cold call, because it's not going to result in anything except for avoiding what you may consider an embarrassing moment. But cold calls, at the end of the day, even if it doesn't feel like it, are there to help you learn and not to diminish you or make you feel bad. So anyways, all this to say is write a list, recognize what's graded and what's ungraded, and prioritize the graded things. Next, what you need to do is take all of the work that you are graded on in every single class, everything that was on the list of the graded section, and split each task into steps. So what that looks like is if one particular course you have an exam at the end of the term, and that is worth 100% of your grade. What are the steps needed to accomplish that task at an A level? So maybe that would look like having created a really highly optimized outline, and then becoming extremely familiar with every single section of that outline. And then teaching someone could be the next step. Teaching someone what you have learned. to really solidify those ideas in your brain before you take the exam. So those are 3 main streams of steps that you may need to take to accomplish the goal of getting an A on the exam. You then take those steps and break it down even further. So if step 1 is to create an outline, a really solid outline with all of the information that you are going to need on the test, then what are the steps you need to take to create that outline? 1, you may need to read chapter 1 through 20. Okay, so then write out step 1, read chapter 1, step 2, read chapter 2, step 3, read chapter 3. And after each of those steps, you may need to actually write the outline. So step 1 may be reading chapter 1, step 2 actually would not be reading, it would be writing the outline for chapter 1. Then step 3 would be reading chapter 2, step 4 would be completing the outline for chapter 2. And so on and so on. So you make all those steps and then you write out all the steps for actually knowing the outline. So once it's created, what do you have to do to ensure that all of those ideas and concepts are solidified? Well, you'd probably have to review and really understand chapter 1, then 2, then 3, all the way to 20. And then if you want to teach someone and really solidify your knowledge, those steps would include finding 2 people who want to listen to you and are open to hearing about what is in your outline, setting days to meet with them and actually explaining and going over the outline with them. These could be people from your law school, for example, people who are going to be taking the same exam. So it could actually be a mutually beneficial process if you explained the concepts to them as well. So now you're going to have this like massive list of steps. And at this point, you may feel like, I was really overwhelmed at the beginning of this video, at the beginning of this process, and now I'm here with this ginormous list of steps. I didn't even realize how much I actually had to do, and I'm feeling even more overwhelmed. If that's you, you are not alone. That's okay, but this is just the beginning, okay? You're almost, no, this is not just the beginning. This is just for now. We are going to organize it all. So now you have this massive list of steps. One thing to feel a little less overwhelmed about is that anything that you need to do for law school that is going to show up in your grades in this list. You have listed everything and all the steps to get there. You know how to get that A or that B or whatever your goal is in your courses, you know. So the knowledge piece is there. Now it's about implementing. Now what you have to do is take all of the steps that you wrote out for every single graded task and put it into your agenda. You're in law school, I expect you to have a calendar, a to-do list, an agenda, at least one of those, if not all 3. If you do not, you need to go out right now and purchase a cheap agenda in which you can break down all your tasks for each day. Take that big list of tasks, and from now until the end of semester, you need to plot every step into your agenda for each day. So you need to start at the beginning, let's say today is the first day of school and you're doing this and you have 3.5 months in the semester, and 3.5 months from now is when all your papers, your exams are due. Then you need to see, okay, to accomplish this goal in 3.5 months, I have these 20 odd steps that I need to complete. I need to start them today. So I need to put step 1 in my agenda for tomorrow, step 2 in my agenda for 3 days after that, step 3 for 3 days after that. Do all of this with all of the steps and give yourself ample time to complete the steps, right? So if your goal is to be prepared for your exam in 3.5 months from now, plot out all the steps so that you are completely prepared for the exam 3 months from now. So you have a full half of a month to catch up if you fell behind, to do more things if you didn't account for all of the information that was going to be there, if it's a little bit heavier than you thought. Just give yourself some wiggle room, some flex space, and when you are plotting the steps into your agenda, make sure you're not putting like 10 steps in for tomorrow and like 0 steps in for the next day. Make sure they're kind of balanced. Make sure you have breaks in there where you have catch-up days where you scheduled nothing for yourself. Try to give yourself 1 to 3 steps a day, like small steps, right? Like one step would be like searching for topic ideas for an essay. That's just one step out of writing the whole essay, but that should just be one day. You don't need to write the whole essay in a day. And as long as you are on track, and once everything is plotted, into your agenda, as long as you are up to date on the tasks that you're doing, you will know for a fact that you are on track to hit your goals at the end of the semester. Even quicker if you plot it out like that. This is gonna mitigate the overwhelm feeling. A lot of the times in law school, people feel like, oh my gosh, there's always something to do, there's always something to learn, I never feel complete. Like you work, and you've done so much in the day, and then you're like, but there's like 100 more things to do. If you can plot everything you need to do out and you have a timeline, you will be able to shut off. At least in theory, you will be able to shut off more easily because you know that you've completed your task for the day. And in some circumstances, what I like to do is I'd like to get ahead. Like if one day I completed my task really fast, I would work a little bit more so I completed tomorrow's task as well. And then when tomorrow comes, I feel like, okay, cool, now I'm a day ahead, and I will still do my tasks for the next day so I can remain a day ahead. But let's say I was really tired, like I don't need to push myself, I can rest and I can feel okay with that. And finally, 3 remaining tips that I have for this after you've completed this process is 1, remind yourself that in law school, oftentimes networking is more important than grades. So if you are not getting straight A's, like there's nothing to be stressed about and overwhelmed about. Just talk to your professors, make friends with them, make friends with people in law school, go to different law firms in the area and showcase your personality. There's different ways to get to your end goal, your end career, whatever that may be. The second thing to do is remind yourself that this may be the last time that you are in school. For most people in law school, it is. So enjoy it. If you made it this far, you've done a lot of schooling and you probably enjoy schooling to some capacity. So really try to enjoy it. Like try to live in the present moment. Stop, it's easier said than done to stop being stressed, stop being anxious, but really try to implement habits like breathing techniques, like meditating, like finding time for yourself so that you can remain more in the present moment and actually enjoy the process that law school is. It's about the journey at the end of the day, even if it doesn't feel like that sometimes. And finally, number 3, what I would recommend you to do is find ways to ensure that you do not feel like you are doing this alone. Even if you go into law school and have no friends and are unable to make friends, find ways to connect with people who are doing the same thing as you or like similar things to you. I started law school and it was COVID times. I started online. I was doing law school from a school that was across the country that I knew no one at. And what I had done, honestly, I found law school YouTubers that I liked and I just watched them consistently. Whenever they posted a video, I would watch and I would feel like they were my friend. And I'm not saying this because I'm like, watch my videos, but genuinely what I did was watch their videos and feel like, hey, like I have this but person in my life that I'm watching that is doing law school too, that's working, that's, like grinding, that's waking up early, that's like doing all of her outlines, and it felt good. It felt like I wasn't in it alone. It felt like I was learning something and that we were experiencing it, I guess not together. I knew we weren't friends, but like it felt like I wasn't the only one doing it. So make sure that you find that too and make friends. And if you can't make friends, find people online that you resonate with. And understand that you are not alone and that you do not need to go through all this overwhelm alone, and you are not. So connect with those people. Anyways, that is the end of this video. I hope you found value in it. If you did, I have a collection of videos on law school, feeling overwhelmed, things I wish I knew before starting law school, things that you can do on the side to make money during law school, just a whole bunch of law school stuff. So if you want to watch more content like this and learn more, then watch those videos. They will be on the screen right after this. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like my content.